a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Vanderpump Villa on Hulu, The Baxters on Prime Video, Davey and Jonesie's Locker on Hulu, and Renegade Nell on Disney+.
So stay tuned to the end to find out what BJ would do if he had a sprite accessible to him.
What an unusual question. I will put some thought into it because there's a lot of possibilities. Before that, how about you tell us what's happening at Chateau Rosabelle?
You're talking about Vanderpump Villa on Hulu. Lisa Vanderpump is at it again, this time with a French chateau and staff members who strive to provide luxurious, Vanderpump-created experiences for guests while dealing with rivalries, romances, and misadventures that come from living and working together 24/7.
What an interesting description for a show about people working in the luxury hospitality business.
Yes, for a show about labor. We watch labor happen. But there is a ton of drama. They did a fantastic job with casting. Obviously, there are these backstories of, I used to work with this restaurant manager and things didn't work out, but he made sense for this project. And then he recruited this bartender and so on and so forth. Because whatever you need to construct as a background story for how these people came together, I don't care. They're perfect.
The reality TV casting team for this show did what they had to do. They followed some staple rules, such as Marciano and Hannah, exes who are still into each other. Instant drama right there. Bring in Eric, divorced, attractive, and willing to mingle. That's going to stir up feelings in probably multiple people.
And he already has a potential interest with Priscilla.
Can't waste time.
No.
Andre, our unfortunate sob story, having recently lost a parent. We're hitting every beat.
Exactly. This is a wonderful casting of people. You have, as you've said, the heartstrings person in Andre, but then you have the wonderful toxicity of Hannah and Marciano and everything in between. It was just a constant train wreck. They were arguing in front of the guests. They were arguing with each other. They partied all night before the first guests were supposed to arrive. So they also weren't at 100% on the literal first day on the job. They were just a mess through and through. But what I will also say is I believe the stakes that they are workers. They're a mess, but they really are clocking into a job. I know sometimes on reality shows, you have these quote unquote jobs or things that are really just mined for plot. In this case, I really do believe them as hotel workers. They really are the staff of the chateau, or at least part of it. And I like the stakes of having to do these service-related jobs at such a high level for such a well-known person in hospitality. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. If you are interested in like rising in the ranks of being a server, bartender, being in hospitality, restaurants, etc.
I agree. This is going to be a great career opportunity for the cast. And I appreciate that this is a real job alongside them being TV stars. They are working. However, I gotta ask, Mitu, if you were to put on your HR hat, okay, how would you describe the work environment?
A little unprofessional.
A little.
And perhaps I'm going to use the word harmful to everyone's physical and mental health.
I agree. I'd say after one day, they have some team building they need to work on. I have some concerns about potential in some of these people. I don't like that they're lying to their boss from the start.
Are you putting some of them on a PIP already? Performance improvement plan?
They're not getting a full demerit, but we are watching their performance.
Lisa Vanderpump tells them no drinking from the guest bar. She makes one rule, one boundary, crystal clear. Telly, Andre, Marciano, they're all like, absolutely, sister. Yes, we will not drink from the guest bar. What unprofessionalism that would be. Lisa Vanderpump does not get but 10 feet away before Marciano goes, I need to take the edge off. I need to take a couple shots. And Telly's like, absolutely same here. Turns the bottle toward her mouth. Not a glass in sight, just bottle to mouth. And then same for Marciano. Lisa then turns back around to be like, hey, girls, I'm noticing some shuffling movement and noise coming from this place. What has happened on this ground? And they're just immediately cat with the canary caught. Like they're just not ready to answer her questions, face her questions. And it just blew my mind that these people were a mess with not even like an inch of rain given to them.
I mean, Marciano was smart. He left the room. He said, I'm not going to lie to my boss. I'm just going to avoid telling her anything. Which left Telly in an awkward position where she's like, I'm a bartender, so I need to be at the bar. I cannot leave the situation.
It also gave me some hints into how Marciano was able to get away with some things with Hannah. Because I wonder if she's like, did you do this? And he's like, whoa, what's over there?
Let's talk about anything else besides that.
I do look forward to seeing more mess, though. So do you want to get into the ratings for Vanderpump Villa on Hulu?
Sure. I would rate this would watch again casually. It is a dramatic show with a great reality TV cast, and I'm curious to see how well they can perform as real hospitality staff. How do you feel?
I agree. I did not get in on the ground floor of Vanderpump Rules. My apologies to the Vanderpump Rules community, but now it just feels like too long of a show to jump into. So if you're like me and you are late to that train, you can catch this one because this one's fun. So I will watch Vanderpump Villa again casually and recommend it to other reality TV show hive. This was so messy, but also interesting. Like the chefs, which we didn't get into, people are working, really working.
They were too normal for us to discuss.
Fair. Well, in the realm of normal, why don't you tell us about the Baxters on Prime Video?
Sure. This ensemble family drama is based on the best-selling novels from Karen Kingsbury, and they follow Elizabeth and John Baxter, played by Roma Downey and Ted McGinley, and their adult children as they navigate life's highs and lows, both with and without God. In this first episode, Carrie Baxter, one of the daughters, played by Allie Coburn, uncovers a devastating secret about her husband. So, Me Too, what were your first impressions?
The reason I used the word normal to segue into this one is that it really just was like a normal, average, run-of-the-mill family with a little bit of drama. So I liked the pace change from some of the messier things we watched, that we're just watching regular people go through it with a bit of a religious twist, which I did not know was happening, but cool. I think my main critique of the show, though, is the central drama is Carrie and Tim's marriage ending, as you've shared, or at least being on shaky ground. I didn't necessarily buy their love in the first place. I didn't really feel like chemistry was there to mourn the loss of the relationship.
True. It feels like we were dropped in to the middle of the story. Like there's already something going on because when they're celebrating Mother's Day, Carrie is there on her own, saying Tim's at a conference. We get a flashback of how they meet, but even that's pretty brief. So when Carrie is trying to process finding out that Tim has been doing some stuff on the side, it's hard to understand why she's so upset. Like conceptually it makes sense, but we didn't see this passionate love between them.
I have in my notes her dialogue. She says, "What you've done, I can barely breathe." And then she goes on to say, "Remember how happy we were? I never saw you so happy." And I wrote in my notes, where is the happy?
Show us.
Show us. Don't tell us. So that was my main critique. I don't mind just a solid family drama show. I just think that I need heart for heartbreak, and I didn't quite buy the relationship. And they introduced potentially, this is my read on it, a new love interest for Carrie. And I was like, why are we moving on so quickly? Like, first, let me understand her marriage, and then let me have the payoff and excitement of her finding a new guy if her husband is not it.
True. And now that I think about it, what probably added to the struggle of understanding their love story is that every single character except for Carrie is like, move on. It's done.
Yes, exactly. And I do like that for a religious show, she showed up to her parents' house. She was like, I found out some stuff about Tim. I'm unhappy right now. And her dad immediately was like, do you want to leave him? Because we've actually already had some papers drafted. Your sister, Ben, not liked him. We can just pack you up and move you back into this house. And I like that divorce or choosing your own happy, if that's what Carrie needs, was not shamed in a religious program. Because I think it could have been pending other framing.
Right. They were definitely being supportive of Carrie, trying to at least explain to her that she has options. I think it is useful to see how people can become very single track minded, where she's like, I'm married. I now have to make this love work, even if the love is gone. And I think, unfortunately, people do believe that. And it's good to see how someone is going to work through that mentality. That's
true. So with that, do you want to watch more episodes of the Baxters on Prime Video?
Not particularly. I'm not looking for a new family drama right now. You know, I lean more sci-fi fantasy, and this is none of that. So I would put this at a would watch while folding laundry. I think that is an appropriate way to see how this relationship marriage drama works out. How do you feel?
For me, I don't think I'm going to watch more episodes either. I'm not a family drama girl. I didn't do This Is Us. I didn't do Brothers and Sisters, I think was the name of the other show. Parenthood, not the sitcom, but the dramatic show. Parenthood, the sitcom, fire. But basically, I don't really do family drama shows. And I think if you don't really do family drama shows like me, then I don't think this is the one that brings you in. However, if you're looking for another one and you don't mind or even might want a religious twist to it, specifically Christian, then I think this show could be the one for you.
Ooh, will you read the novels?
No. And there's like over 100 of them I think I saw online, which with love to that author and her prolific talent, I cannot get in on the ground level of a triple digits number of books series.
That tracks. There's already 3 seasons of this show, which all premiered at once.
Huh. I didn't know that. I didn't notice that at all. Wow.
Yep.
Well, they have a lot of ground to cover.
And they're going to cover it all. While they cover that, can you tell us what happened at Schrodinger High School?
Yes. What a fun name for a high school. You're talking about Davey and Jonesie's Locker on Hulu. Davey, played by Veronica Slowakowska, and Jonesie, played by Jalen Thora Brooks, are besties who are yanked through a multiverse by a locker portal engineered by their science teacher, Mr. Schneider, played by Dan Barron. Now they're being chased through space and time and fighting for their friendship.
So first off, this immediately reminded me of Strange Days at Black Hole High, get it?
Oh, clever. Shout out to Noggin. Always using that noggin.
Exactly. A fun Canadian sci-fi teen drama where there was also a wormhole, this time in the science teacher's classroom instead of in a locker. But very similar premise, a little more serious. I think this is a fun comedic take.
And I like that it was surreal. I like that in addition to showing a little bit of the portal, we don't quite get into the action yet of the multiverses in the portal, but I thought that they teased it well in this pilot. But even in addition to that, there are some fun and funny surreal moments. For example, when Davey sees her crush, music comes on and he's lit and the hallway is dark, so he really stands out. So I like those moments where it's also just silly and bright.
And the other universes, the multiverse of Mr. Schneider's and worlds, they have this, I don't want to say this in a bad way, listeners, but a low-budget charm.
Yes, agreed. That's exactly it.
It's like, did we get these costumes at Party City? Maybe, but it's still fun to see, and you aren't taken out of the show by it. It works.
It just enhances the kind of campy quality of the show, which is also really funny. I like that their best friend basically makes fun of their friendship often. I can't remember the language that he used, but it was something like, you're choosing to commit to the bit even with mixed reviews on the bit, that being their friendship. The principal neighbors comments on their codependent relationship and compares it to her dissolution of her marriage, which I thought was really funny. And then there's also a funny scene with their very cool class president who doesn't even remember that they're the class president. So I liked that we have some really funny and kooky characters around them, and that all of these characters are showcasing how much our leads need to grow. Because in addition to watching them very likely travel through multiverses and be chased by all of these different entities, we're also hopefully going to see some growth and development from them.
Yes, they are extremely codependent. They don't care about making other friends, and their worst fear is not going to school together. Which I can see that, not being at school with your best friend. But they share a locker to spend more time together. And I think that's when you really start to see them losing their own individual identities.
That's fair. I would have shared a locker if you needed to in high school, had we gone to high school together. But I did really like having my own locker.
And I would just use my own. But thank you for the offer.
Okay. And I think that we had a good villain ? Action generator in Dr. Schneider. He was my favorite character, or Mr. Schneider, excuse me.
Same. Most interesting character. I love seeing the different versions. I love that one version of him is a fax machine.
So funny every single time. So you get to see him exist in all of these different multiverses, and one of them sincerely is a fax machine. So the dialogue is faxed out, like printed. I cracked up every time. That gag did not get old for me at all.
Never.
It was so funny.
So I think there's going to be a lot of potential there, seeing him try to regain control of these portals, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to watch him try to regain control of these portals in more episodes of Davey and Jonesie's Locker on Hulu?
I would watch again while eating lunch. Maybe not cooking it, but eating it. This is a nice half-hour show. It already reminds me of a show that I really enjoyed. And I want to see how the multiverse of Mr. Schneider's handles this. How do you feel?
I completely agree. This is a perfect, I have 25 minutes of my lunch break show to watch something enjoyable but not too intense. You just like to have it with your meal. That's exactly how I'll be watching this. And I would recommend it to anyone who likes a comedy and doesn't mind surreal or kind of kooky elements.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's take things from one group of adventuring gals to another.
You're talking about Renegade Nell on Disney+. Nell Jackson, played by Louisa Harlan, is finding herself framed for a crime she didn't commit. And turns out this will be the story of her becoming a female highwayman in 18th century England. But before that, she's got to work with a magical sprite named Billy Blind, played by Nick Mohammed, to realize her destiny, which might be bigger than she ever imagined.
Ooh.
So, me too. What were your first impressions of Nell?
So I loved Louisa Harlan on Dairy Girls, and I had to Google like 4 times to make sure this was the same person because I thought she transformed so well that I was like, the face looks familiar, but nothing else. How she sounds, how she's moving and performing and behaving. And I thought that was cool. She really embodied this character. And specifically how that came out for me is the action scenes. Very good action scenes. We see these moments where Nell is being challenged physically, so she has to defend herself. And what she understands initially is this bright light, she later learns is a sprite named Billy, as you've said, kind of inhabits her in a weird way. And so then she can fight everybody. She has hands ready for everybody in the room. And so she's able to catch bullets and catch knives and stop things from even hitting the back of her, for somehow she can perceive that. And it was just really cool to see that. And I was surprised to see on a Disney Plus show for, I assume, kids, this level of really great action.
I too was surprised and impressed by the action, and I didn't read the summary going into it, so I was quite surprised to see that these super abilities that she gains were part of the plot. At first I thought she was maybe daydreaming or saw herself fighting back with this super strength, but it's actually happening. So I'm curious to see how they incorporate more superhero style action into an 18th century English setting.
And there are some dark elements of these potential powers for other characters, which we can get into later. The other thought I have, though, is there's a lot of good heart. I buy the feelings of her returning to her family. She's been away for a long time, having to mend relationships with her dad and her sisters and her town. This is a small, close-knit town. And seeing the state of things because their landlord and his son are sort of really bad entities for the residents there. All that said, I did not need a full hour to buy the heart of the show. I thought it ran a bit long, especially for what feels like a pretty straightforward plot.
I agree. I think they stretched this out quite a bit. I did appreciate seeing Nell reunite with her sisters Roxy and George, and also her father Sam, because they thought she was dead. Apparently, she married someone named Captain Jackson, ran away, or just left home, and everyone thought that they both died. So it was fun to see how they had to work through that to become a family again, only for that brat, the Lord's son Thomas, to come in and mess things up again.
And now the girls are on the run.
It's a tough life for these non-lords and ladies.
But it's one I'm interested in. I think there's a good mystery here. I like the fact that they set up now that Nell is on the run with her sisters, now that she's been accused of crime. I like that as a mystery element or plot point to follow. I like the fact that we don't quite know yet why this sprite has chosen her. And as you share in the description, which is not a spoiler, widely available, there is something bigger that she's been chosen for, something greater than she's ever imagined. So we don't know what that is yet. And I am curious, like, what is this magical element and why has it chosen Nell? And then we also see another character, our villain, try to access perhaps powers as well. I'm not quite sure, but in a dark way, in like a selling your soul kind of way, which I think will be interesting to explore too, because I don't think we would have been introduced to both of these characters unless those powers are set to clash.
Ooh, opposite forces coming against each other. Mm-hmm. So with all of these mysteries, will you watch more episodes of Renegade Nell on Disney Plus?
You know what? I'm not typically a period piece person. I am not a PPP, not a PPP loan. I will say in this case, you got me, because I love stories about female friendship and sisterhood. You know that. Really any friendship and sisterhood. And this is one where the relationship, her sisters don't really know her that well. She disappeared for much of their lives and came back into it. So I'm interested in the spooky ooky and magical elements, but I also just really want to see them rebuild their relationships. So I will watch this again casually. And if you are also like a sucker for rebuilding relationships and friendships and sisterhoods, then I think you'll like this one too. And I think if you're period piece hive / magical elements in your period piece hive, I think this is a solid entry into that genre. Because there's a few shows like this where there are these like interesting, spooky elements along with people in like Victorian garb.
That's the new hotness, I guess.
The new hotness.
It didn't strike me as hard as it struck you. I appreciate those emotional beats. The fantasy elements are cool. And I am going to metaphorically ask to share a locker with you. I'm going to ask for you to let me know what's happening with Billy the Sprite and these fantastical elements, so then I can know whether or not I want to come back in to the show.
So you're weaponizing my kind offer of the locker. Yes, weaponizing. I shared earlier. Beej, I'd share a locker with you. What did you say? I have my own, thank you. But now you want to get all up in my locker because my locker got the plot points and the future beats to Renegade Nell. So now suddenly you want to hang our textbooks side by side, hang up our posters next to each other on the locker
Now that
door.
I got the syllabus, I need your locker.
Very tacky behavior.
Tacky?
Group project behavior.
It is a group project, and I'll put my name on it. Because you're still going to get it done, because I know that's the type of student you are.
Yes. Unfortunately, this is something that defined my youth.
Don't worry, I was that same kind of student.
I see you get to be on the other side of it now.
It feels good. I hope you experience that one day.
That's so rude. Okay, what would you do with the sprite? What would you do with those powers? Any powers?
I guess I'd become like a superhero. But then I'd have to be like a vigilante. That's dangerous. Maybe I'll become a super villain. Rob a bank. Just once.
You know what? I'm not mad at that because banks are insured. So if you're robbing it just once, people are going to get their money back. And you're just setting yourself up for a long time.
That's all I want. I'm not trying to hurt people.
Do you want to make clear for anybody listening in that you have no plans to rob a bank, but that you're just saying this in a metaphorical world in which you might have a sprite?
This is an imaginary, made-up story, not based on anything true, where I have a magical sprite that gives me super strength, and I could hypothetically open like a vault with super strength, which I don't have in real life.
Dreams.
It's a dream
for the banks.
Actually, that's not even a dream. I don't want to put it that way. It's just a thought.
It's a thought exercise. It's a thought exercise. We're brainstorming. It's raining up in here.
It's just a what if.
So where can people find literally more episodes of the Pilot Podcast in real life?
Yes, these real, true, factual episodes that happen are documented at thepilotpodcast.com, and they're also available on all of your favorite podcast listening platforms.
You can also follow us on social media at Instagram, TikTok, and X at The Pilot Pod. And you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners, to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.